Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Chris and Andre Show.
Wow, well, hello everybody. We've been on a little bit of a hiatus, so it's good to record. Chris, it's good to see you.
It's good to see you too. It's been a couple of weeks since we've seen each other. Not much has happened, you know. I mean,
you got married, clown. Not much has happened.
Oh, that's right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I did get married. So yeah, congratulations to me. Congratulations.
What are we doing?
Well, I don't know.
What are we doing? We're doing some crazy, like, congratulations to me. I'm the best person in the world.
No,
it's all good.
I mean, you were busy drinking your beer, and so I didn't want to wait for you to congratulate me. So I thought I'd just go ahead and congratulate myself. And
that's dope.
No, I mean, that's,
congratulations.
Thanks. I was also going to congratulate you. I thought you did a wonderful job as the best man.
Oh man, I was so honored to be the best man in your wedding. I was like on a emotional high for like a week before and a week afterwards. It was so dope. I told a lot of people about your wedding. I was like, but yeah, this guy literally had the theme song to Friends.
Again,
and it took me a while to figure it out. I was like, yeah, this guy's really about that TV life.
Yeah.
And I shared with people your vows, and even though it was funny, it was actually pretty beautiful, man. Like that just shows a very creative and intimate side that I was just really wowed by. It was like really cool. So all that TV trivia and the fact that you know countless TV shows by heart, it pays off.
It does. I mean, in the long run, like,
yeah, well
assuming that you can find a girl who thinks that's cute or, you know, like in any way admirable. So
you did. Yeah. That's amazing. So you guys are great. I was happy to be there, man. So I'm really happy for you guys. So yeah. Well, let's get into it. Let's talk about some sports.
Sports. I mean, I guess I'll go ahead and kick it off because you know that I've been waiting 48 hours, 72 hours roughly, to have this conversation. But how about that Wolfpack finally beating Clemson? You know, like it's been, I think, 8 years in a row that Clemson had beaten us, and like 15 in the last 16. I'm just glad that despite almost everything that could have gone wrong, I mean, so your kicker misses 3 kicks, including one at the end of regulation, any one of which would have won you the game. And I was just like, at that point, I mean, I wasn't even watching because, I mean, we've talked about, like, it's too much for me, usually, unless I'm there in person. And we were actually in line or at the theater waiting to see Shang-Chi on Saturday. And so I was sitting there like getting updates from ESPN on my phone. And when I got the final update, I had just gone out to go to the bathroom before the movie started, and I read it wrong. I thought that it said Clemson had won, and I was just like, of course. I was like, I was so upset. And then like I read it again, and I was like, wait a second. They won? Because that's life as an NC State fan. Like, you're just constantly waiting for the other shoe to drop. And apparently even, like, Dave Doran feels that way. In his post-game press conference, he stated, he was like, the curse is broken.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. I have to soften up on State because now my daughter goes there, and I have 2 sons that graduated from State. So I've really, it's hard to say this, but I've been lightening up on my attacks at State. And it's kind of like when they win, it's kind of like my daughter, their first home game, she didn't go because of COVID, but she wanted to go. And, you know, it was like, man, I got to not crap. Now I can't crap. When my boys went there, I didn't really mind, but now my daughter's there. I'm like, I'm gonna have to lighten up on the state stuff.
So what you're saying is I need to send some sort of thank you basket to Jaylee so that
yeah.
I officially thank her for getting you to ease up on your NC State haterade.
Yeah, my haterade might have to like take a long sabbatical. Like,
I mean, I don't know, man. Even if my kid decided to go to Carolina, I don't think I think I would still give her hell.
Well, what if your kid played sports there? It'd be even more difficult.
Oh, that would be really tricky for sure.
Yeah, showing up at games wearing Carolina garb.
She had her first 2 soccer practices the last week and this week, and I mean, I'm not one of those parents that's like, you're going to play soccer and get a scholarship, but soccer is one of those sports where I think like just her general ability lends itself well to that, and so I'm excited for her to kind of get out there, and she's having a lot of fun with the other girls on her team, and I mean, she's never played an organized sport before, so this is her first foray. We were going to get her into it,
good.
2 years ago, but COVID, and so here we are now, making the most of it, and it's been a lot of fun. I sat there and watched her practice last night, and she was very excited. She's like, I want to play a soccer game tomorrow. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, you guys have had 2 practices. Your game is coming up this Sunday. No offense to the coach, because I wouldn't have done anything different than what he did. But I'm like, this game is sure going to be interesting to watch. Like, we don't seem to have established much of the rules of soccer, and it's more just like, kick the ball. Okay.
Right.
Cool. And I'm like, all right, well, this will be
ball's
fun.
going forward. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's dope. I did I'm kind of excited for Denver. They're 3-0, but as the talking heads will be quick to like tell you, their opponents are like 0-9.
Sure.
So it's like,
and that's, I mean,
okay.
To me, that makes way more difference in college sport, like football, when it comes to like your opponent's record. Like in the NFL, it's the NFL, and I mean, like 3 wins is 3 wins. I mean, the Chiefs are 1-2, right?
Right.
Like so are the Seahawks. I mean, the Bucks lost. Like, I mean, I don't think the Rams might be the best team out there as of right now
with a strong schedule.
Yeah.
Like Denver's schedule's not really like the Jets win. I was like, I could.
But I mean, like the Chiefs look beatable, right? The Chargers might be tougher than originally expected. The Raiders, God knows what you're getting with them.
Well, their defense is pretty strong right now.
Their defense has been good. I mean, they picked up KJ Wright from the Seahawks in the offseason, which I was very disappointed. Yeah. I thought they should have held on to him, but that's why
I will say this: I don't feel like I'm not eating crow on Teddy Bridgewater. Like, I'm just not. No. I think my reservations still hold true. Like, it's like he's gonna go out there one game and get himself hurt.
Yeah, I mean, he's a little reckless with himself more than I think he should be at this point. Like, you won the job, availability is the best ability, right? Because if you can't play, I mean, but he has looked great in the first three games.
That's you're not wrong, but I'm just saying, like.
But yeah, like I mean,
those pocket collapses and him getting taken down like 3 times against the Jets. I'm like, yeah, but those were forced errors in my opinion. So it's like, I want him to do well because he's throwing the ball for my team, but as a outside observer,
but
that's still my hesitation.
You're still an honest critic.
Yeah.
Of his performance.
Like, yeah. So now, do I think it could have gone a different way? I think Locke is still a good quarterback, and I hope they don't lose him at the sake of a good, start to the season.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't think that Denver looks at Teddy Bridgewater as the quarterback of the future.
Oh, I hope not.
Right? Like, I mean, I don't think there's any team in the NFL now. I think the Panthers were probably his last shot at that last year.
Right.
And I even think that he got a bit of a bum rap in Carolina because he got injured and Christian McCaffrey got injured, and I mean, we'll see how well Sam Darnold plays going forward without CMC.
Yeah.
But I think I may have to adopt Denver as my NFL fandom for the season, because I mean the only other team I really root for is the Seahawks. I say other team. The only team I root for right now is the Seahawks. Now that Phillip Rivers is out, I'll pull for my individual guys. But yeah,
those being anybody that played at State, right?
Yeah. That's all it is.
Well,
Although that's not entirely true. Like, there are other players that I do pull for,
right.
but they are almost exclusively guys that went to State.
I still pull for the Giants, and that's
got to be getting rough.
Oh, it's painful.
I mean, I wanted to ask you last week, and I know I was the reason we didn't record the podcast, so it sounds weird saying this, but I was going to ask you last week how you felt about them losing to the the Washington football teams, and then they go out this week, and who is it that they lost to? They lost to, it wasn't Jacksonville. Jacksonville's still undefeated too. Urban Meyer.
Yeah.
He thought he was just gonna come in and be like, "I'm a super coach."
They lost to the Pats.
Oh, the Patriots, yeah. And I mean, the Patriots aren't a bad squad.
Was it the Patriots? Yeah. No, the Falcons.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. And that's bad. That's very bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I don't. I think that they've made a lot of terrible trades over the last 8 years, and until they find a better receiving core and commit to an actual quarterback, it's just going to be they're going to lose like season after season.
Do you feel like they are not committed to Daniel Jones? I'm not saying whether or not they should.
I think they are.
But
yeah, I think they are, but I don't think they should be.
Yeah.
I don't think he's the guy, and that's just my honest opinion. I hate to attribute all their missteps to Victor Cruz, but
no, I mean it's okay.
That's where the marker starts, though. It starts with Victor Cruz, it continues with OBJ, and then it hasn't gotten any better. It's just like poor decision after poor decision. And it's not Victor Cruz, his fault individually. It's just their culture and their strategy changed with that decision ever since then, and it hasn't been very productive for the team. I don't know what they need to do.
And it's funny because I look back at Seattle. The offseason after they won the Super Bowl, they traded their all-pro center Max Unger to New Orleans for Jimmy Graham, and at the time I was very against it because I was just like, you don't mess with the O-line that just went and won you a Super Bowl.
Right.
And Jimmy Graham turned out to be okay, but he wasn't worth an all-pro center, that with your young quarterback. And so, I mean, I don't blame Max Unger, but I blame Pete Carroll and John Schneider for being so short-sighted and thinking oh, we're going to get Russell Wilson, this big, pass-catching tight end, and it's that's, I don't know. It just feels like they can't make up their mind who they are, if they want to run the ball or they want to let Russell throw deep. And I think they just...
in this season of football, or the last 2 seasons, you have to do both. The mobile quarterbacks, they're getting shut down.
And I mean, Russ stopped running years ago to preserve his body.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, wisely so, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and they have Chris Carson, who's a good back, but I think again the offensive line is garbage. I mean, not garbage, but they're just not as good as they need them to be.
Right.
And so I don't know. It's a year where I'm not. I think I've reached a point where I've kind of there's enough dissociation between me and my fandom in the NFL that Like
it doesn't hurt.
It doesn't. No. Like we were sitting there watching the Red Zone this weekend, and I was watching them get beat by the Vikings, and I was just like, yeah. I mean, honestly,
I can see that.
We kind of owe the Vikings one for that crappy playoff win that we had where they missed that chip shot field goal, and Russell had that play where the ball snapped over his head. I was like, yeah, all right. Like, I mean, the Tennessee game was the one where I kind of went, ooh, that's not a good look. Like, you were up, you were in control, and then you just came out and did nothing in the second half and let them run all over you with Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know, this might not be the year, guys. So, I mean, but as an NC State fan, that's been my motto.
That's par for the course, right?
For years now. So, I mean, that's the other funny thing is that a lot of people started saying, like, well, this is a lose-lose for NC State, or at least for Dave Doran, because if he wins this game, then everybody's going to expect him to go win the Atlantic and at least play in the ACC championship. And I'm like, you're damn right we do. Like, but that doesn't mean that we're going to fire him if he doesn't get there this year. Like,
right. I speaking of past college superstars, Joel Berry decided he was going to retire, but you know what I think is funny about like college basketball? Your odds of getting to the NBA are slim to none. You know, I know he played in Europe.
Sorry. You said, you know what's funny about college basketball?
Okay. I was like, okay, I guess I told you.
I should have done the drum roll, but
and it's just like, what's the guy, Christian Leitner? He's another person where you look back and you're like, yeah, but was he really that good? Joel Berry was good in college, but was he really that good for to go to the NBA? I don't think so.
Well, wait. But he's been playing in the NBA, hasn't he?
Well, he played in the NBA, but he's in Europe right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
I mean,
it's just like
if you can play professionally anywhere,
is that really retirement? I don't know.
I see what you're saying. Is he opting not to work, or is it that work is not available to him? Okay.
Right. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So all the best to him and his wife. They're having a kid. That's dope. So
it didn't sound like all the best. It sounded like
I don't think it was worth the announcement. Yeah, low key I was. It wasn't worth the announcement, and I follow Carolina basketball players like you follow NC State alum. Just like
maybe that's who it was for. Then is to let them know, hey man, I'm looking for a job. Anybody in the alumni network looking for a former basketball player to come in and
I'll help you out.
Help you out, yeah.
Yeah. So last thing for sports for me was the Yankees are like, they started off strong, then they've had these nail biter games. They just beat Boston, so that whole league is all out of whack. I'd love to see if they can get to the playoffs. So that's all I got there. I want to see if they can get to the World Series, and I'm not holding my breath in that one. They've got some serious batting issues, but
they should trade for Trey Turner.
Jeez,
I'm just saying.
I just saw this funny. It wasn't funny. It was a company man video from YouTube, and he was talking about the rise and fall and rise again of Adidas or Adidas, depending on who you're trying to explain the company to.
Yeah. And
he's actually one of their highest paid endorsements. I did not know that.
Really?
Yeah. So anyway, let's talk about some pop culture.
Pop culture.
So, a couple things for me. My wife was showing me those stupid crate videos where people were trying to scale them. Yeah. And I was like, the first thing when I saw what they were doing, I'm like, no, they shouldn't do that. And then I saw the aftermath.
Yeah.
But there's like thousands of people doing this stuff. What is wrong with people, yo? It is like, bananas.
Yeah, it's it's the I don't know. I know it's not new in that sense. I mean, like America's Funniest Home Videos has been the same. You know, it's like half of that stuff is probably staged. You know, oh,
Sure.
let me hit you in the nuts with this, and we'll get on America's Funniest Home Videos. Like, but I mean, and Jackass, you know, like that stuff. And now it's like reached a point where everybody wants to do it because then you can post it on the internet and maybe it'll get shared and go viral. And what you get out of that, I don't know, other than people think, wow, what an idiot. I'm with you in that, like, I mean, the Tide Pod challenge.
God,
like, you're telling me somebody told you to eat this and you're just like, okay.
Or the ones with the kids that are just being completely disrespectful to their parents to see if they'll get hit. Yeah. I'm like, yo, are you for real? Like that should not be a thing. It's just really bananas.
I mean, and not exactly setting like a good example for younger folks out there,
right?
In that regard.
And of course, in the news, there's been studies about Instagram not being healthy for young girls. I think we kind of all knew that, right?
I mean, they just had the head of Instagram on the Today Show, you know, promoting all of the BS, you know, that they're pushing in terms of them, you know, not being a publisher and, you know, being a platform, and but they take it very seriously and they're making change. So it's like, you can't say that there isn't a problem, but that you're also simultaneously making changes to fix the problem. There's no problem here, but we're fixing, like, it's not, there's not a water leak, but I got to change out the pipe. Like,
right. I don't know, dude. Like, I just don't get it. Like, when I read the article and I heard part of a paper about some of the data they've collected from Facebook and Instagram, I'm trying to figure out. And then another thing that kind of confused me is that when news personalities introduce, let's say, X celebrity, they always mention, and they have, 2 million followers on whatever platform. Yeah. And I just don't see the relevance. I really cannot sit here and say, I understand that, because it doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I mean, the followers, I mean, it's much like anything on the internet. The more attention that you have, the more important you must be, right? And so it's like anything that you can do to generate content that's going to get you that attention becomes the goal, really. I mean, it's like even David Letterman, right? I don't know if you saw that stuff, just kind of bleeding back into sports, but he went to Nets Media Day and was asking Kevin Durant questions, like as part of the media, and he's like, "Why do they call you KD?" And he's like, "Are you fucking kidding me right now? Like, my first name is Kevin with a K." My last name is Durant with a D. He's like, "Oh, KD. Can I call you KD?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then he's like, just asking him all these stupid questions. And Durant was having like none of it. He was just not there for it. And even that stuff, it's like, that's all just to get attention. And
you're not wrong.
And now that's like everybody's goal. They see that, and it's like, oh, I'm going to go to my, McDonald's or, whatever, and I'm going to go throw something at this person and record it because that'll get me internet popularity. Consequences in the real life be damned.
Right. Well, what's sad is that there's a confusion of what's considered real life and what's not real life, and there's a term that you have to actually say, no, IRL. Like, what? Like, what do you mean? You think this is real? Like, you think everything you're doing here right now is real? Oh, but it's real when you can't get a job because somebody looked at your social media like history and saw the crazy stuff. Now there should be a separation. That's what you're saying. I don't understand it. I do see that Instagram, and not just because they're related to Facebook. That's not the sole source of my disgust. But the thing that it does is it distorts. Well, I'm confused. I'm confused because there's this movement to take some of the sexism out of our society, but at the same time, you have all these people like in bikinis and twerking. Like everything's a twerk now. You got to twerk just to have an interesting video. You have to have like your butt out. You got to have your tatas out. I mean, it's just like you want to take. You want to reduce the sexism, but you're setting yourself up in a form to be objectified. But then I'm confused because you say it's your right to wear whatever you want to wear. And so it's all just, there's a bunch of really convoluted things going on. And I don't want to pull the thread, but I will say, why are we surprised that it's bad for girls?
Yeah, I mean, I think like at the end of the day, it's not even that it's just bad for girls. I think it's just bad for everybody. Like I don't think that there's anything really super beneficial about using those platforms at this point. I mean, I have done a lot to moderate the people that I follow, and on all of my different social media platforms at this point, because I've just got I realized at some point I was seeing stuff that I didn't care about from people I didn't want to see stuff from, and not like people that I know, but like things that I had put in as interests on Facebook when I first created my account 20 some odd years ago. Not 20 years.
And now you're getting stuff about Kylie Jenner.
Right, exactly. Or old movies and stuff like that I put down in my list of movies that I liked. And so then when Facebook switched over to having pages and stuff, I automatically liked me to those pages, right? And so then I realized I've been seeing this content for God knows how long from a page that is managed by some random person. Like, it's not even, yeah. And so, sorry, I keep swatting at this stupid little, fruit fly thing. So, I'm not crazy and than usual today. But yeah, I don't know, man. Social media, it wasn't even, Facebook wasn't made with good intentions, right?
Right.
Like, Instagram, I don't know. I mean, originally it was look at these pretty pictures I took, right? And that was kind of cool. I liked the filters that you could add to your photos there, doing photo editing. One swipe on your phone was kind of a neat feature. But now it's all about memes and videos and reels, which are just recycled TikToks, which I get asked at least once a week by my 8-year-old, why can't we have TikTok? And I'm like, because TikTok seems like a really bad idea. And she's like, why is it a bad idea? And I'm like, it just is, honey. It's getting to the lowest common denominator of this. We had this thing called Vine back in the day. Everybody thought that was the best. No, turns out 10-second videos weren't enough to sell ads. So we had to make them longer. I mean, and that's what it really all boils down to. I made this comment earlier this week or last weekend. It's it's the only thing that I shouldn't say the only thing. The driving force behind so many things is advertisers, right? How does this benefit advertisers? Is it drawing more attention to the commercials? We don't really care whether or not people enjoy the show or the movie, but is there enough opportunity for us to sell stuff if we make this? That's how I feel so many things get made these days, and it's not that there isn't also room for the indie films and these great stories, and that sometimes the two can come together and make an entertaining movie, but it's still I think frustrating that the changes to Facebook or Instagram are not for your benefit, right? If it is, it's only because it makes the platform that much easier for you to use or convinces you to use it that much more often, and therefore see more ads. That's what it all boils down to.
But they're not the only ones guilty of it.
No.
And looking through Google News and just the headlines. Now, I don't blame the aggregator for that, but I do blame the publishers of the headlines. Everything has become clickbait.
Yeah.
And it's just so mind numbing. I've actually even in Google News, I've been saying, I don't want to see anything from this publisher, or I don't like this story. And trying to hopefully train it to keep less and less clickbait things out of my feed, because I'm really just interested in the news. The news is like that. Everything is. I listened to Don Lemon and Chris Cuomo and their handoff, an idea completely stolen from the Chris and Andre show. But we love you guys. And it was interesting to hear Don Lemon's take on the political place we are right now, and like, he was saying that he travels throughout the country, and he echoed a point that we often say: the fringe group of both sides gets all the press. The loudest ones speaking get all the press on Twitter, but they're also the smallest group.
Yeah.
The loudest, one would believe that progressives have this big echoing voice in politics. Not really true. One would believe that Trumpians would have they have this big influence on society. Well, not really. There's not a lot of them. But we give them so much press and attention, it makes it appear that way. I don't know the solution to that, but it shouldn't be that, death sells when it comes to like information.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you in that I don't know what the solution is, because it's not like, ban advertising on the internet. Like, that's
right.
But I think there just needs to be more. I mean, part of it, I think, is that there needs to be more honesty between the websites, the advertisers, and the end users.
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard. I mean, how do you do that without, strict government regulation, or which is not, I don't think would be effective, right? Like,
right.
You're asking people like to surf through websites and determine whether or not a website is, encouraging its users to watch more ads than it was before.
Well, if the ads are relevant, sure. But if they're just like garbage just to be garbage, probably not.
But even that, I mean, like, the ad relevancy, then it's I feel like that's well, if you want your ads to be better, let us see all of your information across all these different applications that you're using, right? I mean, like, that's been
no, that's fair.
A recent update on Apple, right? I say recent, within the last like 6 months, where almost every time you go to use a new app, it'll be like, oh, do you want to allow this app to track your behavior across other apps?
Oh, no.
Yeah. And I realize that you can actually go into the settings and just say, no, stop asking me this. None of them should be able to do that.
Right.
But my Instagram and Facebook ads continue to be ridiculously accurate. Like, I do understand how they make the connections sometimes, right? But it's like, my mom ordered something for my sister from some website that I've never heard of before and left a printout of it sitting on the stairs. Never talked about it, never said anything out loud. And within, like, I don't know, 24 hours of seeing the printout there, I saw an ad on Facebook for it. It's creepy, right? But they know that my mom is my mom on Facebook. And she probably is allowing them to track stuff unknowingly. And so they see that she purchased something there. They see that my sister's on there. They've probably figured out what's going on with her. And they're like, oh, maybe he wants to get something.
Yeah, with a really creepy level of certainty, they can make that conclusion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I have an issue with paying for content from sites. Like, I'm starting to, I'm starting to buckle against the pressure of subscribing to certain websites because I see the value there.
Yeah.
But then I don't. because I'll often find myself where I can go like 3 or 4 days without reading like the news.
Yeah.
Very, very rare, but that happens. But it's just not worth it to me to do those, to make that purchase. But I see the value there. I see the value of relevant advertisements, but I do see the concern about privacy. Like I don't want anybody to do this behind my back, but if I give you permission, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
So that's something that, that bridge has got to be crossed.
Yeah, let me fill out a generic, advertising profile one time that gets shared across internet advertisers, and it has my, maybe my age and my gender, and maybe that's it, Maybe it doesn't need to be more specific than that. Because it's just at this point, and again, having been on the other side of it, I understand the desire for that precise information, because you don't want to be showing people ads that aren't interested and aren't going to ultimately purchase your product. Like, that's costing you money. That's a waste of advertising space for them and for you. But I just feel like, in a lot of ways, we've gotten to a point where, we started out very small. Oh, let's share this information here. Oh, share that information here. And then, especially with Facebook, it turns out like, oh, crap, all this stuff that you thought was going to be semi-private, now we're opening it up to everybody, and we're sharing all of this information that you put in years ago with advertisers to now target ads to you.
Yeah, hard pass.
Yeah.
Hard pass. So you saw any movies?
Yes. So I was, thank you for reminding me, saw Shang-Chi this weekend. Went to go see it in the movie theaters. It's the second movie I've seen in theaters now since...
Was there any COVID in there? Like, was there COVID floating in the air? Were there a lot of people there?
No, I mean, there were not a lot of people. It was one of the movie theaters where you pick your seats ahead of time. And so we intentionally left like buffer seats around us.
Gotcha.
Just because I don't really like sitting next to strange people in movie theaters, anyways. But I really loved the movie itself. I thought it was a lot of fun. Like the acting was well done. I thought the fight scenes were really it felt very clean. Versus
because most of the actors in that movie are actually martial arts practitioners.
So that definitely I think definitely helped. But just like a really fun movie overall. There were a couple of nice little Easter eggs and sort of things like that from the MCU to help kind of tie everything in. But I would watch it again, definitely.
Cool.
Highly recommend you check it out if you get the chance.
Yeah, I'm iffy about the theaters. Granted, I was wrong about my prediction. By September, we'd be in the same spot we were in last year, but logistically, we're not. We're not having shutdowns, but that part I was incorrect on. But the amount of COVID cases and deaths in North Carolina has unfortunately risen. Yeah. They're back at January, February numbers. So unfortunately, that part I was right in. But I do want to see that movie. But I'll probably not go to the theater. I've been trying to low key keep away from the cooties.
That should be on Disney Plus in
November.
Nice.
Yeah.
Too bad. Go ahead.
I was going to say too bad about two things with the Disney Plus is Black Widow. I think that possibly could have done a lot better, and then they wouldn't have to write off Scarlett Johansson, which is sad. And secondly, the What If series, I don't like it.
I think we talked about that a little bit on a previous episode, but
yeah,
I don't know. The What If, it's kind of interesting, and I get the appeal to some degree of like, oh, what if this happened? But I haven't finished the whole series. I think I've only watched like 3 or 4 episodes, and so I've read several complaints about specific like, storylines that people really didn't like, and what they felt like it ultimately, was undercutting certain character, like, their driving forces and stuff like that in the other movies or other storylines, the original storylines. And so
Yeah.
I don't know, like the couple of episodes, I like the Black Panther one where like he goes off with the Ravagers. Like I thought that was kind of cool, but there hasn't been anything that I watched where I was like, well, I wish that would have been the real storyline. Like that's way cooler. Like it was just kind of
Yeah, that's kind of like I watch it just because it's Marvel stuff, but I really am not enjoying the series.
Yeah.
Not very invested in it.
I tried 3 times to watch Free Guy. I kept falling asleep. Now, granted, I was really tired, but 3 times, I just was like, I guess. I love Ryan Reynolds, but
it's a Ryan Reynolds movie, man. It's a very entertaining movie.
Yeah, like it was fun. I wasn't not enjoying it, but there wasn't anything that really kept me like
awake.
Awake.
I watched The Protege with Sam Jackson and somebody else. I can't remember, but
Maggie
great action. Yeah. Great action movie.
I didn't watch it, but I was looking at the description for it the other day because I saw it up there and was like, "Oh, that looks interesting."
Yeah, really good movie. I like that.
I watched Safe House with Denzel and Ryan Reynolds.
Oh yeah. That's an older movie.
It is. It's an older one. I think I can't remember if Christy had seen it or not, but. It was one of those. She was like, she thought it was newer because it's like 2012, I think, is when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
And I do it all the time on Netflix where I transpose the 2 and the 1 at the end, and I'm like, 2021, what? Like, no, I just wish it was still 2012. But yeah, like I love Safe House. That was a good movie. Yeah. It's kind of like the prequel to Hitman's Bodyguard.
Yeah. Which, by the way, very entertaining movie. And I watched The Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. That was pretty entertaining.
I told you, like, Selma Hayek kind of steals the show in that movie, right?
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah.
She's amazing. What else? I watched A Quiet Place too.
Was that any good?
They should not make another one.
I mean, why did they need to make a second one, right? Like, I don't understand.
I was lost.
They had that. That and Bird Box came out at the same time, where it was like one you can't see and the other one you can't hear or breathe or talk or whatever. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I don't know the purpose of the movie. I watched the entire thing and it was it made me realize that their kids are terrible people. Like the dad died because of the daughter. The younger brother died because of the daughter. Like, she's just a pretty bad kid all the way around. In the second movie, you realize the brother is not really a very good kid either. These kids cause a lot of problems.
Isn't that movies in general? Kids are the source of all problems. Like, even like The Walking Dead. Carl.
Yeah, Carl was a
giant freaking pain in the ass. Like, all he did was cause trouble. And then when his mom got pregnant, what happened? She died. That's that baby's fault. She wasn't pregnant.
Whoa. What? I'm not saying all that. I'm just saying, like, when I was watching A Quiet Place 2, I'm like, their daughter's terrible, yo. Like, she got
like,
her dad
I don't
killed.
care about the monsters, Mom. I want to listen to my rap music. It's tolerable.
Yeah, it's tolerable. Oh, God. Well, here we go.
Oh, let's
get into it. Let's go.
It's time for politics.
Just to be clear, I have not prepped for any of the political stuff. except for what
It's
I may
okay.
have already ingested accidentally.
Well, I'll tell you this. Kudos to Salesforce.
I don't like where
we
this is
we
going.
often we often talk about, hey, take your company out of that crappy state, right? If they're not making those dollars, they'll start to listen. So Salesforce has told their employees that if they're not really, if living in Texas with their new law is going to make their life difficult, they'll pay for them to move. And I think that's commendable. Texas really wants to be a tech hub, but
I mean,
I don't care how cheap the deal is. I'm not trying to be in a place. I'm not trying to support a place that is oppressive like that.
Yeah, and I think, ultimately, like, this is what people who are opposed to the ridiculously restrictive abortion laws that they're passing in Texas were hoping would kind of happen, right? That if the Supreme Court didn't stop it before it went into effect, that ultimately you would have corporations much like what you had in North Carolina, right, with the bathroom bill, where it was like, the NBA pulled out. You had all of these other, events that got canceled and moved elsewhere until they changed the laws, because they were like, no, we're not supporting that. And as much as that sucked, for the people here who, attended those events or used those events as forms of employment, like, ultimately, it's what was needed in order to change that law, which was not a good law. I think kudos to Salesforce. I will tip my cap to them. That is a good first step. I will say, so I don't know if you remember, but there was when Amy Coney Barrett was getting pushed through at the end of whose term.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we had a debate about how important that could be, right? And one of the things that I feel like I remember you saying was, well, the states would have to pass laws so restrictive that, it would essentially overturn Roe v. Wade. And if I recall, you seem to feel like that was not likely to happen.
And it still hasn't. So the law that Texas wrote doesn't really address the issues that were addressed with the Supreme Court's ruling on Roe versus Wade. And how they got around that was by making it where the state doesn't really report
Which I...
Yeah, that loophole. I mean...
How is that even a thing? Like, what standing does a random citizen have to file a lawsuit against anybody else because of a medical procedure that took place?
But to be fair, Texas is the state where a lot of patent laws or lawsuits they come from.
Right.
So their interpretation of the judicial system is murky at best.
And I guess that was the thing that disappointed me the most in the Supreme Court, declining to take up the case prior to it going into effect, was not even the fact that it was dealing with abortion, but the fact that the enforceability of it seems so anti-constitutional. Like, that there's no legal standing for, any individual who is a citizen of Texas or a resident of Texas to file a lawsuit against doctors or individuals or the Uber driver. Like,
you're looking too small, because the two current cases are people that don't even live in Texas.
Right. Yes. But not both of whom are opposed to the law itself.
Right.
They're filing it just so that it can basically
it pushes
up to the Supreme Court, which kudos to them. Like,
kudos, yeah. Now I think that it's a very devious, like, movie villain type of law.
yeah,
Right.
I mean, it's one of the things Republicans do best.
Yeah, they're trying to do the next like movie or episode of Despicable Me. Despicable Me. So we have a bunch of Groots running the state, and I just find that the part of me wants to say that I think that policy trumps politics, and it trumps the partisan BS that people typically try to play. But what I'm finding that I'm struggling with is that we keep putting the same idiots back in office.
Right.
State by state, we put the same type of fools in office. So what does that say about us as a country? It's like,
I mean, to me,
it tells me I don't.
Go ahead.
It tells me I don't want to go to Texas. Like, I get there's a lot of cool things about Austin, but I have no desire to go there.
Yeah.
Like, boycott Texas, boycott Louisiana, boycott Mississippi. I have no reason to go to these crappy states.
Yeah, I mean, and we've talked about it before, that you can't, we can't be responsible for all of the idiots in this country simultaneously,
Right.
And I don't know, it's just frustrating that, I mean, it just seems like something that should not, it seems like such a petty way to try and go about doing this, right? Like you talked about, like it's such an evil villain type of like that. You just kind of shake your head and you're like, really? Like, you're willing to go to those lengths because that's what takes you.
I'll be honest. I was impressed by how they crafted that law. I was like, well, that is just genius, right? You can give the impression that you're trying to address this pressing issue that so many people are concerned about, which we really aren't, and give the power back to the people to solve this issue because it supposedly affects them. We're going to remove government from the equation. You're really not. You're just trying to pander to 10 people in your state. The 10 people that really believe abortion's an evil thing.
But this is what I still don't understand, right? Like, how is this still like a viable campaign strategy? You're appealing to 10 people with this crap. Are the other, 50 to 15 million people that live in Texas not paying attention? Like, they're just ignoring that and choosing not to vote on that? They vote on other issues.
Yes.
Alone?
Yeah. I think that there are more one-issue voters than we ever gave credit for.
So, like, what's the other issue in Texas? Is it guns?
It's guns.
Okay, you really think that some Democrat that gets elected is going to put in, like, strict gun, gun requirements in Texas?
Probably not.
Right? I mean, like, I would think any Democrat that's running in Texas is like, keep your guns. I don't care. I'm here to fix everything else.
But you only get one bullet.
I mean,
I think that would be the best thing to do. Just start going after the bullet manufacturers. Don't go after the gun manufacturers. Just go after the people that make the bullets. We should outlaw bullets.
But then only the bad guys will have bullets, Andre.
They'll only have one bullet. You're gonna have bullet smugglers. I'm just telling you, man. I think we're going after the wrong people, man. Okay, the NRA's got, right? They don't even have a lot of clout. It's just they're super loud, and people have contorted the Second Amendment so poorly.
Yeah.
Let's just get all the bullets off the shelf.
I like that plan. That could work.
Have all the guns you want. Have 60 guns, but you only get one bullet. And oh, by the way, they're all made of styrofoam. Oh man, I solved that problem. But I will say that Governor Abbott and DeSantis are like two of the biggest douchebags in politics right now. Next to Matt Gaetz, holding hands with Ted Cruz, kissing Holly on the butt. I mean, they're just like, this whole Trump squad is just so embarrassing. If I voted for them, I wouldn't even say if I was a Republican, but if I voted for them, I would really question my own sanity.
I mean,
they're just idiots.
I can't even.
They're idiots.
They are. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, it's that those individuals.
DeSantis went to, I think he went to Yale or Harvard. I don't remember which one, but he went to an Ivy League law school. And
he's a smart guy. Like, he gets he knows what he's doing, right? Like, that's part of the issue is he sees the power vacuum that, you know, is there in the Republican Party and thinks, well, if I can do what Trump did, then I'll basically be Trump. I can be Trump 2.0. And I won't make the same mistakes that he did.
Yeah, he went to Yale, then he went to Harvard Law. Holy, he went to both of them.
And yet we hear nothing from either of those institutions apologizing for this asshole that we have to all deal with.
Oh my God.
I'm the governor of America's Wang. You have to listen to me.
He went to Yale for undergrad and Harvard for law. I am not believing this.
Believe it, sister.
We should boycott him.
Do we need to write a letter?
Yeah, like what?
The
What is going on there,
guys?
guys?
Is officially boycotting both Harvard undergrad and Yale Law School, or is it Yale undergrad and Harvard Law School?
It was Yale undergrad, Harvard Law School. Jeez.
You know what? We're just going to boycott everything with both of your associations.
You guys are the Ivy League douchebag schools.
I mean, is that really that surprising, though? Like, no offense to those amazing institutions. But this is what happens when you have, like, the upper crust that basically just sits there and smells its own farts for a million years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how you end up with overprivileged little dweebs like freaking Matt Gaetz. I mean, like, that's the only thing that happens is when there are no consequences for your insanely ridiculous actions for so long that you decide, oh, well, I can just get away with anything.
So, but the Republican trope is that they are the party of the people. Now, I don't know how they finagle that one, but there are more elite Republicans
because we're anti-union. Unions are bad for people. Corporations help people.
I still kind of believe that. I think it is the duty of the employees to not work for crappy companies.
I don't disagree. I think like a lot of things, right? Like unions are great in theory. It's only in practice that they fail because people are horrible.
They're corrupt.
I mean, that's what it boils down to. Like, why does our government suck right now? Because we've got way too many people who are willing to look the other way. Like, that's what it really boils down to. The people who have decided they don't want to know the difference between what's right and what's wrong.
I learned something new over the last 2 weeks. It's that going back to segregation and the Jim Crow laws.
Oh, so a nice fun topic that we can switch to.
Well,
sorry, go ahead.
But a lot of the control factors were based around school boards. So a lot of the racist practices were being instituted in the schools first, and after the schools, everything else. Mm-hmm. And like doing some more like research, that's where a lot of these politicians get their start. It's you educate or you control that arena. You educate a new generation of whatever. You can dictate which dollars go to which schools, and predominantly that's redlining is so far behind this brilliant tactic. And it just opened up my eyes to the level of corruption and at the levels of our political system. And forget the mainstream politics. Let's talk about what's happening in our school boards.
Yeah, I mean, at the local level.
You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's where a lot of this evil starts. It starts with our kids. Then we control that arena. We we do two things with that. We control who gets access to information, who's going to have a better opportunity to be successful in our culture, and we can oppress an entire group or groups of people at our whim.
That's great.
Based on who controls the school board.
Yeah, and shocking, who's in control of the school board?
A lot of douchebags.
Yeah. I mean, there's a political, hubbub going on down here right now because they've got the mayor's seat is open as well as several seats on the town council, and it's been interesting to hear some of the people that are running and some of their reasonings behind it.
Give me an example.
Well,
don't leave me hanging.
So they've got one gentleman who's running for mayor, has been mayor previously. Generally,
one-term mayor or second, like at least multiple terms.
I think he was just mayor for 2 years. I think it was just one term.
Okay.
But has 13 or 14 years of experience on the different committees and boards and stuff like that, as well as town council and his mayorship. And so his main reason for running is because he said he looked at the makeup of the town council and the other people who were running for both town council seats and the mayorship and felt like there wasn't enough experience that understood how to actually get any of the stuff done that they wanted to get done. And so he felt like that was what he would be able to contribute beyond what other people that are running, like basically.
I thought he was going to say there's too many black people. I was like waiting for some devious thing to come out of his mouth.
No, like
I was scared. I was like, whoa. I looked around and I was like, oh, there's way too many of them
now. But yeah, so it's just, I don't know, like it's interesting though, because there is there's a lot of, a lot of it is like, well, because he was talking about one of the other guys who's running for town council now, who was mayor previously, and was saying like he's a really good guy. I think he could make an excellent town council member, but he'll tell you himself like he was way in over his head when he was mayor, and it was one of those where him and a bunch of friends were sitting around and they kept saying, you should run for mayor. We'll all vote for you, and so he did without really having had any experience in the, local government previously, which has me curious, like, what's the best way to go about getting experience in your local government? If it's not, running for like an elected office like mayor or town council necessarily, like, what are the other ways to go about getting involved and understanding how that whole process works so that eventually you can be an actual, like, a helpful person in that role?
So this is just my perspective, and I'm not an expert on these things or these matters.
But he does play one on TV.
But I do play one on TV. I can't think of any job where I was completely equipped for before I took it.
Sure.
Any job that I've ever had.
But I'm saying, like,
no, how hard is it? Seriously, how hard is it to be a mayor?
I don't know. I've never been mayor.
How hard would it be to be president of the United States?
Probably pretty hard.
Probably not.
I feel like that would be
very
hard.
stressful. I don't think so. I really don't. Like, relationships, you're pretty much surrounded by qualified people for the most part.
Well, you should be, in theory.
Yeah, we have a couple exceptions to the rule. You understand relationships. You understand the mechanics of it. You just have to decide which road you want to go down. Now, I'm not saying the job's easy, but I'm not saying it's beyond the scope of a mere mortal to do.
No,
that's what I'm saying.
I don't think that my point was that it was beyond that of a mere mortal.
Okay, that was the worst way to describe it. My point being is, like, I don't think that in order to be a mayor, it doesn't mean you're replacing every other cabinet seat in that office.
No,
right?
I understand that. I'm just saying, I guess, try not, like, I wouldn't necessarily go, like, if I had no experience,
You're looking for the entry level job.
Yeah, kind of
in local.
I mean, like, I want to. Yeah, I mean, I guess like for me, that's how I've kind of gone about things. Like, I don't know.
I mean, I guess an entry level job would. I mean, if you want to look at it that way, would be town council, right? But it just I don't know, but I would just assume that the issues that the mayors are encountering, they're probably just laden with data points and facts, right?
Yeah.
You could probably make some good decisions if you have all the right information.
Sure.
It's not a job of execution. It's really a job of coordination, in my opinion, just looking at it from my point of view. So I don't think there is an entry-level job, even in town council, right? That's literally, it's not execution. You're going to have the city planner that executes that. You're going to have the police department that executes that, and you're going to work closely with the police chief. So I would just say, like, I don't think there is an entry level job. I just think it's a matter of like, what skill set do you have, and do you understand how those pieces work together? Like that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's I mean, run for mayor. Like, find out, right? Like, what's the worst that can happen, right? Like, you get elected mayor, what's the worst that you're gonna do?
The island sinks.
But you see my point? That's how I look at it. I just kind of think, like, it's not.
Although I did find out, apparently, if you're on town council or like an elected official here, you're not allowed to leave. Well, not supposed to leave during hurricanes. Apparently.
Yeah, you better check that at the door.
Right.
They don't have that in Texas for the U.S. Senate because Ted Cruz went to Cancun,
Yeah,
so you should make an exception to the rule.
Right.
That's interesting. But no, I don't think there's. And I'm not trying to say that. I'm not trying to minimize the importance of the job. I just don't think it's that.
No, I mean, I understand what you're saying. Like, I hear you.
I mean, any new job you get, you're always in way over your head first, like 3 to 6 months. I mean, but no, you just fake it till you make it. like that's just literally what every new employee does. I mean, I've never heard of a CEO just like coming to a new company going, "All right, we're changing everything." Nope. They take time. They look at what's working well. If there's anything immediate that needs to change, they address that. But yeah, I don't know. I just maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but that's just the way my brain works. I can kind of see where all the widgets go.
Yeah.
Like, it can't be that complicated. Like it's like you got to be able to learn that. Like, don't fire the police chief.
No,
unless he's
I
doing
mean,
something stupid.
it's not, it's not to say that I don't think I could learn, but I don't know. It was one of those, like, early on I got, when I was young, like, I did student body council or student council and stuff like that and ran for different, I was usually vice president because I learned that was a job where all you had to do was show up, because as long as the president was there, you didn't have to do anything at the meetings. Like, you were basically just the vice, you were the assistant president if the president wasn't there. Like, then you got to run the meeting. But otherwise, you just got to sit back and enjoy the air-conditioned student council meeting during lunchtime. I was an excellent student body vice president. Just going to throw that out there.
That's amazing. I do want to say this. Oh, my damn Manchin and Sinema. You guys are like two floating POSs in just stupidity.
So I don't know what this is about because I haven't tuned in super closely lately, but I'm going to assume that it has to do with the debt ceiling, them failing to pass that.
Yeah, for everything holy, like Manchin's holding up everything because actually I don't know. Like, there is some stupid belief that there is this bipartisan path to getting things solved in the Senate. And everything that's happened since, like, what, I don't know, Mitch McConnell said that he wasn't going to, let President Obama get nominations through, to currently where Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley are blocking nominees. What else do you need to see from these people to let you know that they don't want to work with you?
Yeah.
How smart do you have to be?
I mean, unless that's your goal, is to seem like you want to play for one side, but secretly, not so much.
Bless you.
Thank you.
At the cost of what, though?
I don't know.
It just blows my mind. It's like there's a map that shows all the states that would benefit from these bills.
Yeah.
Guess which states?
Mostly red ones.
Mostly red ones.
Doesn't matter. Healthcare, same thing, right? Well, who stood to benefit the most? Red states. Who fought against it the most? Red states. This is, I mean, at some point, maybe we just need to make these things optional for states and say you can either participate in this program or you cannot. And if you're a red state and you don't, that's cool, but you're not going to get the benefit of it. You don't have to pay for it. That's cool, whatever. You weren't actually going to pay for it anyways because you don't pay for anything.
Anything.
Thank you very much.
Most of these states that are the biggest opposition contribute little to nothing to the national economy.
I mean, and that's why why we are allowing them to hold this stuff up. But I'm also with you in that it's like, forget the federal government. Like, states, fix this stuff on your own. Stop waiting for them to pass healthcare laws. Pass your own. Like, if you want to band together with other states that are nearby, do that. Cool, whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
well, you can't do that. The problem is you can't do it in the Southeast. You can't do it in the South in general because they're the poorest freaking states. That's a problem, right?
Well, but I mean, what else are we going to do? We're going to hold back progress for every other state because certain states continue to vote in representatives who will not pass legislation that is beneficial to them. I mean, at some point, you're either on the boat or you're not. And
that's fair.
I mean, I feel like we've been holding on to people on the side, dragging them through the water, telling them all you got to do is put your other hand up here and climb up. And they're like, no, let me drown.
Well, Manchin, his saving grace was that he's the former governor of West Virginia. That kind of explains why and how he keeps getting. Why and how he keeps getting reelected.
But yeah,
he can ride that out.
Let's just keep. I mean, what is this? College football? We're just going to recycle our old coaches and new places and hope that it works out better here. Is this the NFL? Like,
that's fair. Krysten Sinema, like, I don't know what her deal is. I know she just got like $750,000 of campaign contributions from Big Pharma.
Oh,
so
nice.
That explains a lot with her.
Yeah.
You know, I know that Manchin's daughter is a CEO of a company that produces insulin.
Yeah.
So it's like
there are no coincidences there. Like, that's the whole thing. It shouldn't have to be that obvious, you know? But
right.
I mean, like, we basically have proof that Matt Gaetz was in a hotel room with underage hookers doing drugs.
Yep.
We have all of that proof, and yet this dude is still sitting on multiple House committees.
Well, House committees don't really do crap, but that's fair.
But it's still like a position of, I mean, maybe not importance, maybe not influence, but it's something. Like, I mean, and I'm not saying, like, just take him off the committees, but I'm just saying, like, it's ridiculous that his own party refuses to do anything to try and...
Well, they're scared of Trump.
Right. But why isn't he scared of this guy? I mean, isn't that just, like, bringing all the Jeffrey Epstein stuff back up on Trump at this point? I don't know the lady, but I wish her well. I hope she goes to jail for a not very long time and doesn't say anything about me.
I would propose making... Actually, I don't know what I would propose. Because, like, I looked
War
into
2.
the... No.
Fight.
No. I looked into, like, changing the electoral college, right? The math doesn't make sense. Yeah. So the way it is now is the only way that it totally makes sense.
Okay.
The crappy thing about just going with a popular vote is actually there's really no downside.
There's
to
not
that,
at the
right?
president, and not at that level, right? Like when you're voting
With this, yeah,
when you're voting at that
with the
level, because it's not a matter of each state having equal representation. You know,
Right.
like no, this is who are all of us saying should be president.
yeah. I think the Senate, like, we should probably readjust some seats. Like, I don't think West Virginia needs 2 seats. Like, if I'm being honest.
Well, but
I don't-
so like the Senate
Nope.
was the place that was supposed to provide equal representation for all states. The House provides, representation based on population, and then.
I think we should change that.
But why would you have two groups that are basically more or less determined or populated the same way? Like if they're both based on the number of people, or roughly based on the number of people, even if it's not the same.
What if we inversed it? Where the Senate was based on population and the House was based on equal representation.
What is the goal what are you trying to achieve?
So you'd probably have more laws produced to get voted on to possibly become an actual something helpful, right? So, for example, healthcare, if it was the reverse, it would probably have worked, because more than likely, the House is going to want to put a bill out there. Then you basically have the states that want to see that happen are going to vote for it in the Senate, not the other way around. A lot of bills go to die in the Senate. That's where they go to die. They don't go to live in the Senate.
Well, sure, but I guess I don't understand why you think that there would be any greater chance of pushing stuff out of the House if it was equal representation versus what you get from the Senate right now.
At least you would have bills. You would have more bills to possibly go to that would actually chip away at the things that we need to fix and address, as opposed to the Senate is where bills go to die.
But I still
basically.
don't understand how you're solving that by swapping it.
More than likely, you'd have more Democrats. You'd have Republicans in the Senate.
But you still have to get everything through the House then, so then the House becomes where bills go to die.
I don't think so. I think you'd have smaller bills. Think about every bill that goes. Every bill that goes to the House.
Why doesn't that work now in reverse? I mean, because both the House and the Senate can put laws up for votes, right?
Yeah, but the Senate rarely does that. That's my point. You'd have smaller bills going through more frequently if it was reversed.
So you think that if you had equal representation, and let's say it was the way that it's voted right now, essentially, so you'd have 50-50 split in the House, that of those 100 representatives, they would be more inclined to get legislation put out.
Yeah.
Because it's the House.
Yep.
And there would be less opposition because there's just less people.
Yeah. The bills would have to be smaller. You wouldn't have these monolith bills that you have to tack on every little
Yeah, I mean,
piece.
I don't know. It sounds good in theory, I guess. I still just...
Yeah, I mean, it's all theoretical.
I still
don't know
don't
if
think
it works.
that it... I still don't think that it's really achieving it. I mean, I understand what you're saying, that you feel like it would help to motivate the core purpose of what the House is there for, which is to generate bills.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what the solve is. Like, that's part of the problem. Is other than just getting involved at my local level right now, I don't know how to fix any of the rest of this. I think it's going to take more of us getting involved in general. Before.
So here's where I would push back. I agree with what you're saying. I don't have a solution, but think about the $1.5 trillion bill. Right? It was pretty focused, pretty simple. The $3.5 trillion bill is pretty complicated. There's a lot of moving pieces in that bill.
Right.
So either the House starts to, like we've talked about before, get them stacked up, line them joints up, and let's get them through. It can die at version 1, and we go back and say, why did it die? And we just rewrite it. I'm serious. I would much rather see more bills get passed or get through the House. They're on the Senate's desk. They can, according to parliamentary rules, if it's presented at X time, they have to vote on it. You remove the roadblocks. The roadblock this time around is this big, humongous bill. Yeah. That was one of the roadblocks with the Affordable Care Act.
Right.
It was this humongous bill with all these pieces. Why do we make bills that are so complicated and so complex?
Well, I mean, I think the ACA, in large part because it was trying to solve such a complex problem.
But there were pieces in the ACA that had nothing to do with healthcare.
Well, yeah, of course. Because that's the only way that bills get passed. And I'm with you that it's stupid. I don't think that you should be able to do that. Like, I think it should be illegal, essentially, to have bills that have conflicting, not even conflicting, but just completely different purposes, within them.
Yeah, the scope of the bill should be the scope of the bill, right? And if it means there's 10 bills, that means you pass 3 out of the 7. Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
No,
I don't know if my way...
It's stupid. It's all part of that parliamentary procedure, though, right? Where it's like, this is how, you get these little, things through that are going to affect this one small pocket of people, but they really need the help, and we have to tack it onto this huge bill because nobody will vote against this huge bill that everybody really likes and is really behind, and we evilly supported this tiny group of people, and it's like... I don't know. But again, why is the federal government the one who's having to do that? Like, why aren't we fixing this stuff at the state level? Right?
You're right. I don't disagree, but we take time, even our own state legislation, to pass bills that nobody cares about. Yeah. Like, we spend all this time, when I say we as a group, writing a bill to limit the governor's powers and Emergency Powers Act. Like, why is that important? What if something really big happens? Yeah. And he needs to do an executive order, but he has to only do it for 7 days now and then go back to you for approval. Yeah. Why does that make sense?
It doesn't make any sense.
Like, and if we ever get another Republican governor, right, then you have to go back and, strike that rule. Or what are you going to do? You're going to ignore it when it's a Republican governor. Yeah.
Well, or they'll just rubber stamp whatever it is that he wants when he comes back for approval.
Right.
Because
and that's just...
the belief is that they will always be in control because so far they haven't been required to fix the gerrymandering that they did that put them in such, massive control. Every time that they've gotten close, they argue some crap and the courts are like, well, I guess you can put it off for another year.
Well, here's what I would propose. For reasonable people, and I think the numbers that I last saw, there's 27% of the population are registered Democrats and 24% are registered Republicans, right? So that's what, 53%? 53%? So for the 47%, right, I'm going to assume that most of them are reasonable people. No. I'm going to say 38% because I'm going to give it a margin of error because a lot of people don't vote.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people that went to the 1-6 insurrection, a lot of people that supported Donald Trump, in both elections, did not vote, which is a fun fact, which blows my mind.
Yeah, it's very fun.
It's like, how did he get elected then? So let's say for 40% of Americans, our job is to be responsible, no matter which state we're in, and vote for people that have the sense that God gave Jacob's jackass. I mean, we can't keep putting idiots in office. We can't have people... We're not going to probably ever do term limits because we got to fight lobbyists. But let's stop voting for idiots. Let's encourage people like Chris to run for local office. And, hopefully he can escalate his career to be like the governor of North Carolina. That'd be fun. But my point being is 40% of us can't be wrong. In the middle of the two extremes, I would say the two political parties, there's got to be enough reasonable people to keep us out of the nightmare that we lived for 4 years.
And we invite all of you other reasonable people to come join our new party, the Reasonableists. How can you argue against us? You'll sound so unreasonable.
But am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. I mean, And I think that's part of the frustrating thing is, like, you know that there are all those other reasonable people out there. And, I mean, like you said, if 60%, if 60% of the country isn't on one of the fringe groups, but we're saying only 40% of them are, or 40%, so what is that? 2/3 of them are willing to actually do something. Right? Like, we have a whole third of that reasonable group that thinks the reasonable thing to do is to sit at home and not vote.
Right.
Which is messed up.
That's amazing. Yeah.
I was also watching some of the like the Jordan Klepper videos the other day on YouTube, and there was one, I think it was the one that you sent me, the school board, and he was talking to the one woman, and I mean, like, just multiple times was like, so this, and she's like, yeah, and he's like, and this, she's like, yeah, and he's like, so this. Oh wait, can you edit this? Do you, like, that one was cracking me up. Can you guys edit this? I need to start over or something like that. Like, no, that's not how this works. And then come to find out at the end, oh, I don't vote though. So what are you upset about? Like, you could have put people in charge of the school board, or at least voted for somebody that aligned with your beliefs. And instead, now you want to come afterwards and make a huge deal about these elected officials doing their jobs.
It's Jordan Klepper is.
I don't know how he does it, honestly. Like, I would lose it being out there amongst those people. And, like, his interview with Mike Lindell was great. You know, he's like, but Mike. He started calling him Mike. I was just like, oh, and you could just see, like.
But Mike Lindell put it all on the line for Donald Trump. He
still is putting it on the line. He hasn't given up. August is coming past, and he's still, I have the proof. I have the machines. This is all. We got hacked.
Well, I'll say this because I want to talk about a couple other things before we wrap it up. Trump, I don't know where he was, but he actually, so Arizona came back with their frauded results, and Trump lost 247 votes, and President Joe Biden gained 199.
Count them again.
He says at this rally, he says that we won Arizona. I'm just like, you just straight up lie to these people, man, and they're just like more.
Yeah.
It is phenomenal. It's just like, what is wrong with these people?
That's all they want. That's all they it's all that they care about. Tell me what I want to hear. I don't care about the truth. I want my feelings to be validated. And he does that for them. And that's what it is. He validates these awful beliefs, these terrible fears that these people have for little to no reason, mostly because they watch Fox News. Or did. Now they're at the whims of OAN and these other probably even less respectable somehow, organizations. And I watch the freaking Today Show because it's what my mom puts on in the morning when the local news is done doing its cycle. And I hate 90% of the crap that they have on there. And I'm like, this is garbage. Why do people watch this? And part of it is because it's a routine that people grew up with. Like, it's a familiarity. Like, I don't know.
It's amazing. Let's chat about business before we wrap it up.
Okie dokie. Collaboration. Synergy. Thinking outside the box. Raising the bar. Breaking down silos. Shifting the paradigm. Disrupting the market. Business.
God, I hate that.
No, you don't. You love it.
I hate those words, man. They make me cringe. So crypto has been crashing and crashing for the last 2.5 weeks. 10% like 2 weeks ago, down, and 10% the following week, down. I'm going to say this again. I am not an economist. I don't understand currency trading. But if you are making money in crypto, that's because you got in when you got in. But please, if you don't understand the game, please, people, don't think you're going to go out there and strike it rich. Please, stop.
Yeah.
That's all I got. Stop.
What was the country where
they made it their currency?
Like an official currency? It wasn't wasn't the only one, because they were still going to accept like U.S. dollars and stuff like that. But
I want to say it was Ecuador.
Yeah, somewhere in Central
or El Salvador.
South America.
Crypto.
I think it might be El Salvador, but
crypto is currency. What country was it? In what country? El Salvador. Yep. And that chicken came home to roost really quick. So.
And that's the problem with the cryptocurrency, with like Bitcoin, is it's not stable enough to use as currency. Like, the value of it changes so drastically from one day to the next that it's not a reliable form in that sense. I mean, you can't spend crypto on something today and then feel like that's the same amount of money I'm spending on it tomorrow, right? Like, if crypto just plummets, okay, well, I just spent my entire life savings on a hot dog. Yeah. Right? I mean, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like it was one of those things where they got a bunch of people who, I mean, it was like a pyramid scheme, you know? Like, just, you got to get in, man. You got to get in now while it's at the bottom. You know, you could be part of this. It's like,
you're right, I could be, but I don't know what you're doing. It's like I don't ever get into an airplane and say, sure, I can fly it. Like, I can't. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm impressed by it.
I understand the basic physics of how an airplane works, right? I'm not like, I'm not jumping in a time machine. Like, you know, as I understand, aerodynamics and all of that, wing shape, it still seems like a lot of metal up in the air, but if you say so.
At like 400 miles an hour. Like, let me go practice this out. So please stop doing it. Another interesting story I saw was that the Realtors Association is facing some heat about commissions. And I've had some personal experience with this, and I get the argument. Like, if I'm being super honest, like, I don't see the need for realtors. If I'm being 100% honest, like, real estate law should not be that complicated that you need to have a realtor to help you buy or sell a house.
At the end of the day, if you have a decent lawyer,
right,
and you're willing to take the time to look and reach out to people who are selling their homes, then I'm with you. Like, I think there are benefits to hiring a realtor, in that if you want somebody else to go do all the searching for you, right?
Sure.
Cool.
Have at it.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, like, you want somebody
that's a paid service.
who deals with the negotiation, like, back and forth for you, so you don't have to be the one saying no. Okay, sure. Like, but I mean, other than that, there are some very basic things that you need to do when you're trying to purchase a house, right? Like, you get a home inspection, you get a list of repairs that you want done based on that home inspection, and you get like a signed offer sheet. Like, that's all stuff that you can download on the internet.
And to my realtor friends, I apologize. I'm not sounding out the cause. I'm just saying, like, my favorite part of my career in real estate was the negotiation. Everything else was like, you really don't need me to do this. Like, the MLS was only cool when there wasn't the internet.
Yeah.
Like, that was a, like, separating factor for Joe Blow.
Yeah.
Well, now pretty much every listing, I would even even as a realtor, I would put houses on these sites because I knew that's where people were looking.
When I sold my house, the only thing I did was list it on a website, on Zillow, and that was it.
Yeah.
I never even put a for sale sign in the front yard.
Just saying. Like, now, I do say for a listing, well, actually, not even that. As technology's improved, realtors are less and less important. Just like car salesmen they're less car salespeople. I don't know what the correct term is. They're less and less important because you can get all the information on the internet. You can probably purchase. Well, you have a Carvana. You have places like that. You don't have to deal with this stuff.
Yeah.
It's just not. It's not a necessity. So, good luck, guys. I know you guys have a big lobby, but.
Sorry that we just shit all over two professions.
But I didn't blink.
It's usually my job.
I know, but it's like when Andrew Yang was saying jobs are going to be replaced, those two jobs, I can see those pretty soon being like extinct.
I don't know. I think there's enough lazy people out there when it comes to real estate that that realtors will continue to have a job. And I almost feel like there's, maybe it's just that the commission that you're getting paid is not matching up with the services that are being offered.
Well, I actually heard, I had some friends buy a house a while ago, and they actually had to pay, I think it was like $500, like when they signed the buyer's agreement, which I actually think makes sense because as a realtor, you drive around, you're wasting gas, or you're not wasting gas, but.
So this was the agreement for them to have this agent represent them as buyer.
Yep. And I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, because you're actually, it's all out of pocket, for gas and whatever other expenses you have at that moment. So that makes sense. I'm not opposed to that. Now, if I was selling a house and I could sell it by myself, sure. I mean, and I've got a little bit of bias to it because, like, I had a real estate license, and so if I ever wanted to buy or sell a home, I'd be like, I'm pretty confident I could do this myself. Yeah. Like, I'm not concerned about that part.
Well, and I think, like we've talked about before, right? The process is complex, but it's not complicated. Like,
right.
The internet has all the information you need out there in order to understand how to sell or buy your home. Like, and there's enough resources out there that you don't need to go to like some zany guy in a question mark or dollar suit, to explain it to you. Like,
it's not that complicated. Yeah. Another funny or interesting thing I saw were two parts. One, they both deal with the pandemic. One is a lot of companies are experimenting with a 4-day work week. They're experimenting with teleworking now because, as we all know, COVID-19 changed a lot of things, exposed a lot of things that there are going to be some positives out of that. And I'm personally not against that. I don't see the need to basically demand all my employees go to an office. It just doesn't make sense anymore. There's way too much technology that proves that to be false. The average office worker, they spend most of their time inside of Outlook or Gmail. So it's not like they have to be in an office to read an email or respond to an email. Most applications are web-based, so you're not really tied to a VPN. Guys,
what's better for you as an employer, right? Like, that your employee is bored out of their minds sitting around a office that you're paying for so that you know that they are not doing something else in that moment, or that they're able to intersperse their work with the rest of their day and be able to live a happier, more fulfilling life and actually enjoy what they do. I mean, like this afternoon I came over here and was literally just like standing around because there was nothing to do.
Right.
Like, I had no emails to respond to. Everything was done there. Like, I started looking for things like to organize and clean, which is fine, but it's not like, and I still left like an hour.
Those are the but those are the optimizations that you can find when you're more productive, is what I would say. And the second part of that is restaurants. I've said this so many times. Dude, a lot of these companies can't find employees because their jobs are crap. Yeah. And I'm not knocking, well, I am, but restaurants are not a fun job, man. They're not. Like, if you think that, I don't know if we talked about this, but when I was down in your area, we saw the sign for, what was it, work 500 hours and get $500
for a gas station
at a corner store. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? So in 6 months, $500.
Yeah, I mean, it's
your job is shit. Like, nobody wants to work.
Yeah, but I mean, everywhere, is like, starting as starting pay up to $12, $15, like wings, like the crappy beach store, $12.50 an hour, starting. Like, yeah, I mean, at some point you're gonna have to realize that, like, people aren't willing to do crappy jobs if they don't have to. Right. I mean, like, that's that. And I think for a long time we've lived in a
employees market.
Yeah. Well,
more of an employer's market.
Yeah, where, it was like, hey, I got this job. You want it? Come take it. Like, but you're going to do, you work for me now. I own you. And it's like, no.
And I used to think that it was an employer's market for a long time, but then, like, the more I realized it really wasn't, because people don't work at places for a long time anymore.
Right, they started job hopping, right? And that, I was reading or hearing something the other day that was talking about how people staying at jobs longer is leading to a decrease in salaries, because usually people get paid more when they move to a new job. And I'm like, but is that just people, like, job hopping in order to get more money? Like, and ultimately they're miserable doing whatever it is that they're doing, but like, well, I get paid $10,000 more to be miserable over here, so I guess I'll go do that.
Well, I don't know. I just think that it just blows my mind. I'm just like, wow, you guys really think that people are going to, like, they've had an opportunity not to have a crappy job. They're not going to go back to having a crappy job.
That cat's out of the bag. Like,
yeah. And I would be remiss if I didn't, like, say one more thing about Tesla. And Tesla fanboys, you're going to get mad at me, but can somebody please explain to me why Tesla is suing people for talking bad about them?
Are we in, like, trouble?
No, we're not in any lawsuits, but I am serious. They are really suing people for talking negatively about them. That's a very
I mean,
I don't know what to do about that.
That's a very, like, Rupert Murdoch kind of thing to do.
Yeah.
I don't know that he ever actually did that, but it sounds like something he would do.
It's a Trump
Yeah,
thing.
it is. I mean, like, that's very much like a, I don't like what you said, so I'm going to threaten to sue you. I mean, to be fair, I guess, like, what Dominion voting did the same thing to all those guys.
But they had cause,
Yeah.
so it's not like, it wasn't like a stretch. But I was, like, so disappointed. I'm like, dude, your cars are killing people. You had I think it was a car that was put into autopilot that ran into two other cars.
And the one that almost took out the police officer on the side of the road.
Oh my gosh. Look, I'm not coming at this. I'm not coming at Tesla.
No,
I'm making a very objective statement. Your car shouldn't be doing that if the tech's not ready, the tech's not ready. I think people will appreciate that.
Yeah.
I see countless people, at least 3 a day, so that's not countless. I see at least 3 a day driving their Teslas, and they are not steering the vehicle. So when I see a Tesla, I intentionally look to see if they're actually steering the vehicle. Yeah. Of the 3 I see, anytime I'm on the interstate, 0 or driving.
I mean, honestly, it'd be one thing if it was just taking them, driving off a bridge and oh, that one person who wasn't using autopilot correctly is gone. But the problem is that those people are typically surviving, and they're killing other people that they run into out
Right.
here. And so it's not, I mean, it's like the freaking mask stuff all over again. It's not about your safety. This isn't about you. This
Right.
isn't about your choice to do this. You know, like, you are putting other people's lives in danger by not operating your vehicle the way that it's supposed to be. And you, Tesla, should feel some sort of moral obligation or whatever to recognize it and to fix it. I mean, you're not the only ones that have this type of technology out there, and yet you seem to be the only ones that are consistently running into this problem. And to me, that says that you don't have enough safeguards in place to prevent people from misusing the technology. And if you can't get those safeguards in place, then the technology isn't ready to be used. And maybe it's not that the technology isn't ready. It's that we're not ready for the technology because we aren't responsible enough. Like, the temptation is too great for us to be on our phones playing video games or doing whatever the hell it is,
Right.
instead of paying attention for, the 30, 45, maybe it's an hour and a half long drive that you have in front of you. But
I'm just telling you, 3 out of 3 cars. Well, and I think I saw one lady driving her Tesla Model 3, the kind of funky looking one. She was holding the steering wheel, but that was still, that was 3 out of 4. Even I see probably 3 to 4 Teslas every day, and 9 times out of 10,
I thought it was 3 times out
they're
of 4.
not. Well, 3. Well, except for the exception. I had to play back in my head. So I was like, no, I did see one lady actually steering the vehicle, but normally they're not steering the vehicle.
Yeah.
Like, that's not like a. It's a small sample size, sure, but we're talking a very small distance here from point A to point B, less than 20 miles, and see 3 vehicles where the driver's not steering the vehicle on the highway. There is a probability that one of those vehicles will hit something. So yeah, Tesla fanboys, I'm not coming at you. I'm just saying, Tesla the company, that's on you. You keep killing people, dude. I just don't get it. I can't even fathom it.
I don't know. I mean, maybe Tesla is, maybe Elon Musk is actually part of Hydra. And the autopilot program is like the gunships.
It's a recruitment.
It's like and so this is like how he's taking out any of the threats against him. Like, these are people who are going to start rival electric vehicle companies in the future and take him down. And he's like, no, I will destroy you now.
Well, good luck, because it looks like Ford's going all in.
Yeah, they just opened those 2 new plants in Falls Church, right? Virginia. West Virginia as well.
Yeah, $11 billion.
Yeah.
That's an investment.
And they're getting the police to approve the Mustang EV for police use. It's going through all the tests and everything right now.
Oh, that's
so you're
cool.
going to see probably a bunch of those out there.
That's cool. Well, thank you very much for joining us, and we're super glad you did.
You're welcome.
It's been a...
Oh, you were talking to them. Sorry.
This guy. We've been letting life happen, so it's been a while since we recorded. We're gonna eventually get everything updated.
Guess who's
and
been publishing episodes? This guy. That's what happens when I get 2 episodes done in a week. I'm just like, kick my feet up, just kick back and relax. I don't have. Oh wait, I got 6 more episodes that I have to edit.
You thought you were done. If you enjoy this episode, please like and subscribe and share. You can always listen to the audio version on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, and for the adventurous people out there, on our website, chrisandandreshow.com, you can take out our RSS feed and put it into your favorite podcast listening app. I personally use Plex because I use Plex for a lot of stuff.
And I personally
cool
use
for my
Spotify
podcast.
because I like to pay for my services.
Oh, that's where we're at now?
No, that was more of like a self-burn that I pay for a subscription service to something I could get for free.
Oh, it's like, All right. The video version is also available on YouTube, and we really do appreciate people checking us out on YouTube. But please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. And if you're feeling super generous, share it with people that you may know that may enjoy listening to the podcast. You can follow us on Facebook at Chris and Andre and Twitter at Chris and Andre. I'm not there, though.
Yeah, we haven't been doing much on Twitter lately. Or anything.
Yeah. I'm like off the social media thing. You can email us at comments@chrisandandreshow.com, and I'm Andre at chrisandandreshow.com, and
I'm Chris at chrisandandreshow.com. See how easy we
as
made that
always,
for people?
I know. As always, I'm Andre.
And I'm Chris.
And we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you.